Canada's economy is doomed. If you look at it by any statistic, you will find out that Canada is not much different than the US, than other countries, because as I've said before, all dominoes will fall. No country will be left aside. And as an individual, however, you can make the preparations to soften the blow. Let's get into this right away. The Toronto condo market is overbuilt, and that puts the Canadian economy at risk. And that's not me saying that, of course, that's the Bank of Canada, Canada's central bank. And they said an overbuilt and overpriced condo market is posing a risk to Canadian households, banks, and the economy in general, the Bank of Canada warned. So what they're saying is that as soon as you have something like the condo market being a little overheated, they're going to have problems, and it starts to begin to sink. That's going to spread to other factors in the economy. Now, this is one thing that's very, very clear, because you can see on the skyline, the Toronto skyline, nothing but cranes for as far as the eye can see. So the condo market is getting built up at a dramatic rate, and this is undoubtedly going to create a glut of homes. So let's go on. Why the Bank of Canada has an inflation and interest rate dilemma. And this is huge because you're looking at food inflation going up at a very high rate in Canada. Of course, this is all countries around the world. However, you can see this because of the central bank policies of monetary easing and the QE. It's not just the US that's doing that, it's every country. And it says, as the Canadian dollar slipped, prices heading up, and the Bank of Canada didn't expect the inflation to happen so soon. Of course, they are never really willing to admit when they are wrong, but anyway, the point is that we have food inflation going up, and this isn't just the United States. In my book, I just wanted to talk about how the real estate prices in Canada are extremely overvalued. Now, why is this the case? That's because all of the money was generated through low interest rates, and you basically gave incentives to people. The banks were given incentives to the individuals and grants and so on, and they were basically allowed to fuel this housing boom, and it's continuing today. You know, there wasn't much of a crash in when the US crashed and real estate around the world crashed. The Canadian real estate pretty much continued on, and it was quite significant now, and you're looking at housing prices that are what they would call seriously unaffordable. That's the terms that they are using, and it's pretty evident right now. 78% of Ontario's 18,600 exporters sell to the US. And there are other statistics I've seen where in Ontario, for example, you have approximately 80% of the exports going to the US. So what does that tell us? That if anything is going to happen in the US, problems are going to happen in Canada. Yes, they can diversify, they can sell to Europe, they can sell to Asia, and they absolutely do. But when you have nearly 100% of the exports going to the US, if the US has a hyperinflation, if the US has a downturn, a recession, or a depression, we're going to have issues in Canada. It's pretty obvious, and this goes for other countries. Look at your own country and decide, who do we export to? If that country is going to run into some problems in the future, chances are you will as well. It's pretty obvious, it's inevitable. This is the Canada government debt to GDP ratio. You've seen this probably with the US one, but take a look right here. Approximately 90% in 2014 debt to GDP ratio. And of course, that does not include unfunded liabilities and all of the hidden statistics that find their way off the balance sheets. So here it is, 90% debt to GDP. That is an extremely high number, and it's supposed to be in a very conservative location like Canada. Not really. Consumer debt hits a record 1.4 trillion, and then I love how they say, but Canadians getting better at paying it back. Of course, sure they are. So you have 1.4 trillion dollars in debt, and that is approximately where the GDP is as well. So that is just a massive, nearly 100% of the consumer debt to GDP ratio, 1.4 trillion. But of course, they are better at paying it back. So what I'm trying to say with this whole video is basically that in any case, in any way, shape, or form, you have a globalized world, there are all these dominoes set up. They will all fall. Why? Well, that remains to be seen. However, when one falls, the remainder will fall. That's just the way it works. It is inevitable, and you need to make the preparations in order for this to be this blow to be softened. It is extremely important. I've gone through it in my book, in my videos. I hope that you will join me for future videos as well, and that you will be an insider. The Insiders is totally free. It's at themoneygps.com. At the bottom, you fill in your email address, and you get short, concise emails from me with some good intel in there. And I wish that you'll join the others. There are, I believe, approximately about 700 individuals on there now, and I want to say hello to each and every one of you. Thank you for all the emails.